All right. That's a good overview of really what student success work is about, what the student success framework is, the core components of student success, and how it builds on prior work with early warning and on track. Where I really want to sort of leave us at the end of this introduction is with this idea that student success systems are driven by student success teams. And as we're working with schools to sort of get these systems going, or schools themselves are doing it, using the tools and resources that are available, or working with one of the grad partnerships technical assistance partners, really what you're doing is creating the student success team, which is the engine and air traffic controller of this work in the school. So that's why we're going to dig into that in this last part of our introduction. All right. So a student success team is a group of adults who work together on a regular basis to implement, continually improve, and use a student success system. It's a school community effort. It's not just about a couple of people that are tasked as specialists. It includes school leaders. It has to include teachers, counselors, other student support members, and we'll see there are going to be other additions. But it really is bringing together school leaders and school teachers and student support staff and personnel to work as a collective student success team. And the idea is, instead of having all those individual meetings, you have one big student success team meeting with more people that looks at kids holistically and covers the aspects that those teams in the past covered individually. That's why it doesn't necessarily lead to more work. It leads to better and more integrated and ultimately more effective work. So to do this, what our team does is they progress monitor all students with these key indicators, both those ABCs, right? Attendance, behavior, course performance, agency, belonging, connectedness. And they're looking for their patterns and trends and figuring out, what's our focus for right now? What's our high impact focus? And then they gather insights from the students, from teachers, from others to understand what's driving this and what some of the best solutions might be. And again, this is an area of big learning, because in the past, most student support systems, on track, early warning, MTSS, it's usually the adults driving it are the ones coming up with the initial solutions. And they often come up with great ideas. But these are complex problems, and and a high degree of variability and sort of changing based on time and place. And it's a mistake if we start building up rapidly just a few default strategies. If kids are absent, we always do this. If kids are not focusing, we always do this. We got to really think about what's driving that and what is the best solution. And that involves listening to more people, the students themselves, their parents. And then, a way to think about this is, if we just rush ahead ourselves and try to implement a solution, and ultimately it was the wrong solution, at best, we've wasted time. At worst, we might have made it worse because we misdiagnosed the reason this was happening, and our solution actually, made those circumstances worse. So taking just those few little more time to listen to a few more people can actually make us much more efficient and effective in the long run. Once we've done that, we take actions. And again, we're really trying to think about, where is that strategic? Is it the individual level, the small group, the classroom, the school? We're largely trying to create conditions under which students thrive rather than waiting for a severe challenge to happen. And then finally, we have to evaluate and moderate the impact as needed. And as I said, that's often the one where we're like, well, we did all of this. We have to rush to get to our work and to our other tasks. Let's go do it. And then a few weeks later, you're like, what did we decide to do? And no one's exactly sure. So that was an overview. And we're now going to go a little deeper into each one of these. Next. The first thing is just about the team itself. As we said, it needs to include school leaders, counselors, student support, and teachers. In larger schools, these are often organized as grade level teams, a 9th grade student success team, a 10th grade or a 6th grade team in a big middle school, a 7th grade team. In smaller schools, they can be a school-wide team. They can be the middle school student success team or the high school student success team. It's really about just the size and number of students that team has to be dealing with and the size of the school for how many adults there are that can participate. That lets you decide, is this a grade level? Is this a small learning community? Is this a school level? However it's organized, they need to have a regularly scheduled time to work together during the school day, and at least on a bi-weekly basis. This has to be seen as really important work, not something that's done before or after school for those that can do it. When they come together, they have to have this easy access to timely data. Again, 1 or 2 clicks at the most. We can't be saying, here's 3 different data sources. You're going to have to like work through them and find a way to put them on a spreadsheet and organize it and then figure out your patterns and trends. That will never happen. We've got to figure out a way to get that actionable data to their fingertips. And fortunately, a growing number of tools and student information systems are able to provide that. The team needs this means to gather insights from students and families. Again, not every student, not every meeting, but there's got to be some sort of process for when they can bring in some students to talk to them about their challenges, or they can have a way to dialogue with families electronically or other means. The team needs to have some roles and responsibilities and protocols and tools to help it move along. It's got to be empowered to take some actions based on what it's finding, right? It's not going to work if they do all this work, come up with a great idea, and someone says, I don't think so, right? That's why leadership has to be involved, and the team has to feel empowered to be able to try out the solutions, which all their work tells them is the best thing they can do in the moment to really help more students. And then they need those shared set of norms to support continual reflection and improvement. All right, let's go a little deeper into those 4 buckets, right? First of all, progress monitor all students. We're really trying to identify students and really groups of students who need additional support as soon as there's a signal that something's changed and the circumstances have changed, motivations have changed, and they need some help now. Instead of waiting until it's crystal clear that anyone can see it. And that's really how our student support systems historically have been organized, especially in middle and high school. We don't do anything until you're chronically absent, or really in the past truant, and then we say maybe we'll send you to court. We didn't do anything until you failed a course. Then we often said do it again under the same circumstances. Or we didn't do anything about engagement or focus in class until like we're suspending you. So we're really trying to get way ahead of those motions and say, maybe you failed a quiz last week. That doesn't normally happen. Or maybe suddenly you missed 3 days of school when usually you're here every day. Or there was that incident with some students yesterday that seemed uncharacteristic. That's the signals we're looking for to say what's going on, what needs to happen. It might be a really small thing. It might be a passing thing. That's fine to know. Or it may be a signal that some more, without intervention, it's just going to grow and grow. We need to add those well-being indicators in, like school connectedness and belonging, along with our more academic and traditional ones. And we really need to look how they're co-occurring, right? How many students that are struggling in math and English class are also chronically absent? That's the type of data we need at our fingertips and always need to be asking. And maybe even the next question beyond that, how many kids are failing math who are either chronically absent or feel disengaged from schooling, right? Because maybe that will give us the subset of kids where it's truly only an academic issue. But for those 2 other groups, we know it's academics plus something else. And our interventions have to take that into mind. Okay. Now we're gathering our insights and co-creating our improvement actions. And this is, again, to reiterate, it really pays off to take that extra step to get the student and family input, because they might be able to tell you, that sounds like a great solution, but let me tell you for this reason why it's a no-go, and we got to figure out something else, right? That's the thing that saves us that time and learning from like trying it and then having it not work. It is important to gather insights from multiple teachers, particularly in middle and high school, when kids have multiple teachers they travel through. Not all these teachers might be able to be at every meeting, but we have to have electronic means for them to share insights and information before maybe the students that they come across are being discussed. Because so often each one will know a little bit of the kid's story, and it's only by putting those pieces together that we get that full picture. In some ways, you can also gather this data proactively is through short surveys or student shadowing, where we follow a focal student throughout the school day, or empathy interviews. And this is the idea too, that Student success teams can be proactive. They don't have to wait to receive data from somebody else to analyze it. If they think there's a challenge or an issue and they don't have data, they can go out and collect it. And through using means that are not super complicated or hard or time consuming. Just ask all our students 3 or 5 questions. Let's all of us spend half a day over the semester, shadowing focal students that we think we're trying to figure out. Let's do some short empathy interviews during our advisories if we have them, or during lunch or for times to collect that data. All right. Related to this is really also making sure that we are doing that multiple levels, right? That we have a good offense, right? The best defense in student success is a good offense. Are we really doing those school-wide efforts to build strong relationships? Are we really trying to increase school connectedness and keeping track of it? And then to know that even as we do this, even with the best prevention, some students will still need those customized and tailored supports. And that is part of this work. It's just not the only part of the work that sometimes it's defaulted to in the past. Right? And then finally, as I said, we have to evaluate impact and modify as needed. And really, when you think about it, student success systems and on-track or early warning system work, or even MTSS, those are all inherently continuous improvement strategies. But for that to work, we do have to do a few things to make sure that the pieces are in place to do that. So we've got to record the decisions we make in our meetings. And we have to say who's going to champion them. And this is easy to do and easy to overlook, right? Because again, it's that time crunch. But we really need that. So on a regular basis, we can check in and see if the strategy is working. And we can't say it's working or not if we don't know if it hasn't been implemented. And then really to ask ourselves, is it time for a plan B, or should we give it a little more time? But ultimately what we're doing is we're continually modifying our responses until something works. That's the whole critical core fundamental idea. And then on a quarterly basis, we might want to step back, or on a semester basis, and do a deeper analysis to see, well, here's all the students we tried to help in small groups and at the classroom and individual. Here's what we tried. Which things worked when for who, right? Because that's the way really we develop this local knowledge, which is what we really need to understand for our kids, our circumstances, our situations, and for varied needs, whether it be attendance, behavior, course performance, well-being. What are the things that tends to work when kids have these types of situations? We only do that if we reflect upon it on a regular basis and sort of build up our understanding of what's working for who in our circumstances. All right, that was a lot. And really, this is just designed to give you a briefest of introductions to both why we need student success systems, what their core components are, how they're driven by a student success team, and what its core work is. And really now we want to leave you with this idea. There's many tools you can use to really help you think about this and reflect upon it and get a deeper understanding. And one of the best is the Student Success Team and Reflection Action Planning tools created by Grad Partnership Partners. And what this is for each of those 4 components, relationships, data, improvement systems, and mindsets, is a series of guiding questions you can ask your team that takes them through the core components of the work of each of those structures. It gives them some look-fors and even some references and tools. And the idea is that every school are doing parts of all of these components. And you're just trying to figure out what's our baseline, what are our current strengths, and where do we need to add more pieces? And really the best way to do is by working through this team reflection set of guiding questions. And then at the end, once you go through the guiding questions, any one of these sections, and we really tell you, like, don't do it all at once, just pick a section where you think you might need some insight and start there. There's some action planning tools that helps you think about what can we do immediately, what's going to take a little bit of time to build capacity, and what's going to take even a little more time because we don't even have consensus yet. You'll also find on the Grad Partnership website, which is a great tool just in itself, a whole series of resources, including some that are designed to meet the challenges of the moment, like a really good chronic absenteeism toolkit. So always going back to that website because there's always things being added. There's things about spotlight schools, so you can see how this work is being done in schools like yours and get ideas from them. So it's a really rich set of resources full of tools you can use. And finally, I just want to end by saying the best way to do this work is to dive in, to get started, to learn as you go, to do it with, an open mind and a full heart, but also to know that the best student success system is going to be the one that you and your school creates. This is not about a cookie cutter replication of a model that's been spelled out to the nth degree. It's about taking a core set of principles, practices, and learnings and adapting them to your environment and owning them yourselves and adding great value through your own insight and creativity and wisdom. And doing that, building upon all the successes you've already had in supporting students, and then adding on the pieces that will give you what you need to meet these really elevated challenges in our pandemic impacted world. So we welcome you to the student success system world and are here to help in many, many ways in your journey. And we encourage you to contact us and engage with us in the many ways you can see on the website and elsewhere, so we can all learn and figure this out together. Thank you. Onward and be well.